Life often feels like a long and winding climb. Some days the air is clear and the path is smooth. Other days the mountain looms so high that even a single step feels impossible. Brianna Wiest's "The Mountain Is You" begins with a simple but profound truth. The greatest mountain we'll ever climb isn't made of rock or earth. It lives inside us. It's built from our fears, doubts, regrets, and the quiet ways we hold ourselves back. This mountain represents the part of us that resists change, even when we long for it. We all carry emotional baggage from the past, memories we couldn't let go of, mistakes we never forgave ourselves for, or losses we never truly processed. These experiences form invisible barriers within our minds. Over time, those barriers turn into patterns, and the patterns shape our lives. Most people think self-sabotage means failing to stay disciplined or losing motivation, but this book explains something deeper. Self-sabotage is rarely about laziness. It's often a form of protection, an unconscious attempt to keep ourselves safe from pain or disappointment. When life asks us to grow beyond what's familiar, part of us pulls back, whispering, "Stay where it's comfortable." The tragedy is that comfort can quietly become a cage. As we journey through this book, we'll see that the mountain isn't our enemy. It's a reflection, a mirror showing us what still needs healing. Every fear points toward an area of growth. Every setback hides a lesson about strength. Every doubt invites us to believe again. The climb isn't about conquering the mountain. It's about understanding it, understanding ourselves. In this journey, Wiest invites readers to listen closely to their inner voice, not the harsh critic, but the quiet guide beneath the noise, the one that says, "You're capable of more." We'll learn how emotional awareness, self-compassion, and courage can transform our inner struggles into stepping stones toward peace and purpose. This isn't a story about sudden transformation or perfect happiness. It's about gentle, patient change, the kind that happens one honest thought, one brave choice, one forgiven wound at a time. Just like a mountain takes years to form, so too does self-mastery. So take a breath, settle in. This climb will not demand strength of the body, but of the heart. We'll explore what it means to let go of fear, to face discomfort, and to rebuild trust with ourselves. The path ahead may be steep, but the view from the top, the peace of knowing who you truly are, will be worth every step. Every mountain we face begins with a single question. What part of yourself are you still running from? In the next part, we'll start uncovering why self-sabotage exists and how to turn it into a doorway toward freedom.
Before we can rise above our struggles, we must first understand them. One of the most compassionate truths in this book is that self-sabotage isn't a flaw in your character. It's a pattern born from protection. It's the mind's way of saying, "I'm scared." Think of self-sabotage like a shadow that follows us quietly. We often don't see it until it starts to interfere with our peace. When we procrastinate, even though we care deeply. When we push people away, though we crave closeness. Or when we talk ourselves out of opportunities we secretly want. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs of inner conflict. At some point in our past, we learned that staying small was safer than being seen. Maybe we were criticized for speaking our mind, or maybe we faced disappointment after trying something new. Each painful moment left a quiet message in our subconscious. Don't try again. It'll only hurt. Over time, those messages became beliefs, and those beliefs became barriers. Self-sabotage thrives when there's a gap between what we say we want and what we believe we deserve. You might dream of happiness, but feel unworthy of it. You might want love, but fear rejection. You might crave success, but secretly believe you'll fail. These inner contradictions drain your energy, leaving you stuck between desire and fear, like pressing the gas and the brake at the same time. The book invites us to look at these patterns with kindness, not judgment. When we understand why we resist our own growth, we can begin to change the pattern. For example, procrastination often isn't laziness. It's avoidance of discomfort, the discomfort of failure, imperfection, or even success. Overthinking can be an attempt to control outcomes because uncertainty feels unsafe. Even self-doubt can feel familiar, and familiarity can feel like safety. The key is to become curious. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" ask, "What is this feeling trying to protect me from?" When you notice your resistance, don't fight it. Listen to it. Beneath every act of sabotage lies an unmet need, a desire for safety, acceptance, or reassurance. Healing begins when we stop punishing ourselves for being human. As we learn to face our patterns, we realize that growth is not about forcing ourselves to change overnight. It's about learning to sit with discomfort and slowly expanding what feels possible. Bit by bit, we teach the mind that it's safe to hope again, safe to try again, and safe to move forward. The mountain inside us doesn't crumble all at once. It erodes gently through awareness and compassion. Every moment of understanding softens a hard edge, and every act of patience clears another path forward. If self-sabotage is born from fear, then healing must come from safety. In the next part, we'll explore how emotional wounds create our inner mountains and how awareness becomes the first step toward freedom.
Every struggle we face in adulthood has roots that stretch deep into our emotional past. We might believe that we've moved on from old pain, but in truth, many in our present fears are echoes of earlier experiences. They may come from childhood, from heartbreak, or from moments when life taught us that vulnerability was dangerous. When Brianna Wiest speaks of the mountain within, she's speaking about these invisible scars, the parts of us that still remember. The human mind is wired to avoid pain. It learns to associate certain emotions or situations with danger. If, as a child, we were criticized when we expressed ourselves, our mind learns to stay silent. If we were hurt when we trusted someone, it learns to hold back. Over time, these lessons harden into beliefs. It's safer not to try. It's better not to care. But here's the truth. Those beliefs might protect us in one season of life, yet imprison us in another. What once kept us safe now keeps us small. The person who learned to survive cannot become the person who learns to thrive without letting go of outdated protections. Emotional wounds don't vanish because time passes. They fade only when we bring them into awareness, when we're willing to feel what we once suppressed. Many people fear revisiting old emotions, imagining that doing so will break them. But the opposite is true. Facing our feelings releases the power they hold. What was once a wound becomes wisdom. Think of a scar. It's not raw anymore, it's healed tissue. Emotional healing works the same way. When we finally allow ourselves to feel sadness, anger, or grief, we're not regressing, we're releasing. We're giving ourselves permission to stop carrying the weight of the past into the present. This process demands gentleness. Healing isn't about forcing positivity or pretending everything is fine. It's about being honest with ourselves, quietly, privately, without judgment. Sometimes that honesty begins with simple acknowledgments. Yes, that hurt me. Yes, I wish things had been different. These small truths open doors to peace.
As we heal, we begin to notice a shift. The fears that once ruled our choices start to loosen their grip. We respond with calm instead of panic, curiosity instead of avoidance. The mountain begins to change shape, not because it disappears, but because we finally understand it. When we give compassion to the younger parts of ourselves, we reclaim our power. We become both the wounded child and the wise guide, holding each other's hand through the climb. Healing is not forgetting the past, it's learning to live freely beyond it. The higher we climb this inner mountain, the more we realize that the journey is not about perfection, but about wholeness, about bringing every part of ourselves, broken and beautiful, into the light of understanding.
Before any transformation can begin, there must be awareness. Self-awareness is the moment when we finally see our patterns for what they are, not as failures, but as messages. It's the gentle light that reveals where we've been living in the dark. Many of us go through life on autopilot, repeating the same emotional reactions, the same choices, and the same disappointments without ever stopping to ask why. We assume life is simply happening to us, but the truth is, much of life happens through us, through the beliefs we hold, the energy we carry, and the perspective we bring to each moment. When we start paying attention, we begin to notice patterns. Perhaps you find yourself constantly drawn to people who don't value you. Maybe you abandon your dreams at the first sign of struggle. Or you keep yourself endlessly busy, afraid of sitting still with your thoughts. These are not random habits, they are reflections of the inner world you've built over time. Awareness asks for honesty, not perfection. It doesn't demand that you fix everything right away. It only asks that you notice. To say, this is what I'm doing, and this is how it makes me feel. Awareness transforms unconscious pain into conscious choice. Once you become aware of a pattern, you can decide whether to continue or to change it. In this book, Wiest describes awareness as the bridge between who you are now and who you are becoming. It's the first moment of real freedom, when you stop blaming others or circumstances and begin to see your own power in shaping your reality. That doesn't mean guilt or self-blame. It means recognizing that growth begins within. One of the most liberating realizations is understanding that you are not your thoughts or your emotions. You experience them, but they are not you. You can feel anger without being an angry person. You can feel fear without being defined by it. When you observe your inner world with compassion, you begin to loosen your identification with every passing emotion. This distance creates peace. Think of it like sitting beside a river. The water flows, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, but you are not the river. You are the witness on the shore. In that awareness, you gain perspective. You realize you can choose which thoughts to feed and which to let pass. As awareness deepens, life feels less chaotic. You start responding instead of reacting. You make decisions with clarity rather than impulse. You see that growth isn't about controlling everything. It's about understanding yourself so well that you no longer need to. Every moment of awareness brings you closer to your true self, the calm observer beneath the storm, the steady climber who keeps moving upward, step by step, toward peace.
Change is one of the most natural things in life, yet it often feels like the hardest. We know, deep down, that growth requires movement, but something inside us resists. That something is fear. It's the quiet voice that says, "What if I fail?
What if I lose everything I know? Brianna Wiest reminds us that fear is not the enemy. Fear is a signal, an ancient survival mechanism designed to protect us. The mind doesn't know the difference between real danger and emotional risk. It reacts the same way to both. So when we try to step into something new, our nervous system interprets that change as a threat. It's the body's way of saying, stay where it's safe. But safety and growth rarely live in the same place. The mountain within us asks for courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. Each time we face what frightens us, we teach our mind that we are capable of handling more than we once believed. Fear of change often hides beneath excuses and distractions. We tell ourselves the timing isn't right, or that we need more preparation, or that others won't understand. Yet beneath those words lies one truth. We're afraid of becoming someone new, because change means letting go of habits, identities, even relationships that once defined us. It's important to understand that resistance is a normal part of growth. When the mind senses transformation, it clings tighter to old patterns. That tension is a sign that evolution is happening. Instead of running from it, we can learn to breathe through it. Start small. Choose one area of life where fear has been holding you back. Maybe it's speaking your truth, forgiving someone, or starting something you've postponed for years. Then take a single step, not a leap, just one step. You'll notice that with each act of courage, fear loses a little more control. The book reminds us that every mountain climber feels fear. The goal isn't to eliminate it, but to keep climbing anyway. With time, fear becomes a companion rather than an obstacle, a reminder that you're standing at the edge of something meaningful. The irony is that fear and excitement feel almost the same in the body. The difference lies in interpretation. When you reframe fear as a sign of growth rather than danger, it transforms. You begin to see it as energy, a force that can propel you forward rather than hold you back. The truth is simple but powerful. You can't stay the same and expect a new life to appear. The climb will always demand release of the old identity, the old comfort, and the old story of who you thought you were. On the other side of that release is freedom, and a peace that only comes from facing what once felt impossible.
Emotional intelligence is not about suppressing emotions, but understanding them. It is the quiet skill of listening to what your feelings are trying to tell you rather than reacting out of habit. In The Mountain Is You, Brianna Wiest explains that mastering your emotions is the foundation of mastering your life. For most of us, emotions can feel unpredictable. Moments of sadness, bursts of anger, sudden waves of anxiety. We label them as good or bad, but emotions are simply signals. They exist to guide us. Fear might be telling us that something feels uncertain. Anger could be pointing to a boundary we haven't honored. Sadness often arrives to help us release what we've outgrown. When we stop fighting our emotions and start listening, they become teachers instead of enemies. Many people spend their lives trying to control their feelings, thinking that peace means never being upset again. But emotional maturity isn't about control, it's about regulation. It's the ability to pause between stimulus and response, to breathe before reacting, and to make choices that align with your higher self rather than your immediate impulses. Imagine standing on a mountain trail when a storm begins to form. You can't stop the clouds from gathering,
but you can choose how you respond. You can panic and run blindly, or you can take shelter, wait, and trust that the sky will clear. Your emotions work in the same way. They pass, they change, and none of them are permanent. Wiest emphasizes that the greatest strength is gentleness. When you meet your emotions with compassion, you create safety within yourself. This inner safety allows you to experience difficult feelings without being consumed by them. It gives you space to observe pain without identifying with it, to say, "This is sadness," instead of "I am sad." That small shift in language changes everything. Over time, emotional awareness transforms your relationships, your work, and your health. You begin to communicate more clearly because you understand what you need. You handle disappointment with grace because you no longer see it as a personal failure. You forgive more easily because you see others' pain beneath their behavior. Developing emotional intelligence is a lifelong practice, not a destination. It asks for patience, humility, and self-compassion. But the reward is profound. Peace no longer depends on what happens around you. It comes from the steadiness you build within. When you can meet anger with curiosity, fear with courage, and grief with tenderness, you become unshakable. The mountain still stands before you, but now, instead of feeling crushed by it, you stand tall beside it, calm, grounded, and aware. Because emotional intelligence isn't about never feeling pain again. It's about becoming so deeply connected to yourself that no emotion can take away your balance.
Every person we meet, every situation we face, becomes a mirror reflecting something about ourselves. Sometimes these reflections are beautiful: kindness, gratitude, connection. Other times they are painful, bringing anger, jealousy, or insecurity to the surface. Brianna Wiest calls these moments emotional triggers, and she teaches that they are not punishments, but invitations. A trigger is simply a reminder of an old wound that hasn't fully healed. When someone ignores you and it hurts more than it should, the pain might not be about the present. It might come from years of feeling unseen. When you feel defensive during a conversation, it might be because a part of you once felt powerless. Triggers are not new pain. They are echoes of old pain asking to be understood. Most people respond to triggers by blaming the outside world. We tell ourselves that if others changed, we'd feel better. But that approach keeps us stuck. The real power lies in turning inward and asking, why does this affect me so deeply? What is this moment trying to show me about myself? This simple shift transforms every uncomfortable experience into an opportunity for healing. Instead of running from pain, we learn from it. Each trigger points directly to the mountain we're meant to climb, the areas within us that are still waiting for love and understanding. Wiest reminds us that emotional triggers are not signs of weakness. They are signs that you are alive, sensitive, and capable of growth. When you stop fearing them, they lose their power to control you. In time, what once felt like a wound becomes wisdom. You begin to respond differently, calmly, thoughtfully, with compassion for both yourself and others. To work through triggers, the author suggests simple, mindful steps. Pause before reacting. Take a breath and notice what you're feeling without judgment. Ask yourself, what memory does this emotion connect to?
What belief does it awaken? Then, instead of feeding the story, meet the emotion with gentleness. Tell yourself, it's okay to feel this. I am safe now. That phrase, I am safe now, is one of the most healing truths you can give yourself. The body doesn't always know the difference between past and present pain. By reminding yourself that the threat has passed, you help your nervous system relax. From that place of calm, true understanding can unfold. With practice, your triggers will no longer feel like explosions. They'll become quiet signals guiding you toward freedom. You'll begin to see that life isn't trying to hurt you. It's trying to help you awaken. Every reaction is a mirror, and every mirror shows you another piece of your inner landscape waiting to be seen, accepted, and loved. The mountain doesn't rise to punish you. It rises to teach you how high you can climb once you stop running from your reflection.
There comes a point in every journey of transformation when we must face one of the hardest truths. To grow into who we're meant to be, we have to release who we once were. Brianna Wiest writes that your new life will cost you your old one. It's a line that lingers, not because it sounds poetic, but because it's true. We often hold on to old identities long after they've stopped serving us. Maybe we've spent years being the caretaker, the people pleaser, the one who keeps the peace. Or perhaps we've clung to an image of ourselves built on struggle and survival. These roles once helped us, but as we evolve, they begin to limit us. Growth demands that we step beyond the familiar, even when it feels uncomfortable. Letting go isn't about rejecting the past or pretending it never existed. It's about honoring it for what it gave us, the lessons, the strength, the wisdom, and then choosing to move forward. Think of it like shedding the skin. The process isn't painful because the old skin was bad. It's necessary because it no longer fits. The fear of letting go is rooted in uncertainty. When we've built our identity around pain or limitation, the idea of peace can feel unfamiliar. Who are we without our old stories? What happens when we stop being the victim, or the rescuer, or the one who always struggles? These questions can make the process of transformation feel lonely. But loneliness is often the first sign that you're meeting your true self, the version of you that exists beyond every role you've ever played. Letting go requires forgiveness, not just of others, but of yourself. Forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was right. It's about freeing your heart from the burden of carrying it forever. It's acknowledging that you did your best with what you knew at the time, and that it's okay to move on. Wiest reminds us that our attachment to the old self often comes from fear of the unknown. The mind clings to the familiar because it finds safety there, even when that safety is uncomfortable. But the unknown isn't empty. It's full of possibility. When you step into it with faith, life begins to expand in unexpected ways. The truth is, you cannot become the person you're meant to be while holding on to the version of you that fears change. The old stories must fade so that new ones can begin. The mountain asks for this surrender, not as punishment, but as preparation. Because at the summit, you won't find the person you used to be. You'll find the one you were always becoming. Letting go is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of freedom, a quiet return to your own heart, where you finally make peace with the past and step fully into the present.
One of the most profound lessons in The Mountain Is You is that the stories we tell ourselves shape the lives we live. Our inner narrative, the quiet, persistent voice in our mind, can either lift us toward freedom or weigh us down in self-doubt. Brianna Wiest emphasizes that to climb the mountain within, we must learn to listen carefully to this voice and, when necessary, rewrite it. Many people grow up with subtle messages that influence their self-perception. Perhaps we were told we weren't good enough, smart enough, or deserving of love. Maybe life circumstances reinforced the idea that struggle is all we can expect. Over time, these messages become internalized truths, the facts by which we live. Yet they are only stories, not reality. Changing the narrative begins with awareness. The first step is noticing the recurring themes in your thoughts. Are you quick to criticize yourself? Do you replay past failures in your mind? Do you limit your own potential before even trying? Awareness allows you to see the story for what it is, a script you learned, not one you have to follow forever. Once you've recognized the story, you can gently begin to rewrite it. This doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending that pain didn't exist. Instead, it's about adding perspective and compassion to the narrative. For example, instead of thinking, "I always fail," you might choose, "I have struggled in the past, but I am capable of learning and growing." The subtle shift in language gradually reshapes belief into possibility. Wiest also reminds us that consistency is key. Our minds are accustomed to old patterns, so the new narrative must be repeated, nurtured, and reinforced. Daily reflection, journaling, or even quiet self-talk can help solidify this healthier perspective. Over time, these small moments of conscious thought create lasting change. Another essential aspect of rewriting your inner story is embracing curiosity instead of judgment. Instead of labeling emotions or experiences as good or bad, ask yourself what they are trying to teach you. The mountain becomes less of an obstacle and more of a guide, showing where growth is needed and what strengths you have yet to discover. By consciously shaping your inner narrative, you gain power over your reactions, your decisions, and ultimately, your life. You move from being at the mercy of old fears and habits to being an active participant in your own transformation. The stories you tell yourself become a ladder, allowing you to climb higher than you ever imagined. The mountain within is steep, and the climb is often challenging. But by rewriting your inner story, you create a path that is both compassionate and empowering. You learn that you are not defined by past limitations, but by your willingness to grow, adapt, and embrace your true potential.
Growth and transformation rarely happen overnight. Brianna Wiest emphasizes that climbing the inner mountain is not a race, but a series of intentional steps. Each step, no matter how small, contributes to lasting change and builds resilience. Resilience is often misunderstood as simply bouncing back from adversity. In truth, it is much deeper. It is the ability to face life's challenges with awareness, patience, and compassion for oneself. It is the steady confidence that no matter what arises, you can navigate it without losing your center. Developing resilience requires practice, consistency, and a gentle commitment to oneself. Small actions taken repeatedly shape the person we become. Instead of expecting dramatic leaps forward, Wiest encourages embracing micro steps. This could be as simple as setting a boundary with a loved one, acknowledging a fear rather than suppressing it, or dedicating a few minutes each day to reflection. Over time, these seemingly minor choices accumulate into profound growth. A key element of resilience is learning to face discomfort without avoiding it. When we shy away from difficult feelings, we reinforce old patterns of fear and self-doubt. But when we allow ourselves to experience emotions fully, sadness, anxiety, frustration, and then choose a constructive response, we expand our capacity to endure and thrive. Another aspect of resilience is adaptability. Life's mountain is never a straight path. There are sudden storms, unexpected obstacles, and steep slopes that challenge our balance. True resilience is the ability to bend without breaking, to adjust to new conditions while staying connected to your inner compass. Wiest also highlights the importance of patience. Healing and personal growth are slow processes. When progress feels invisible, it is easy to become discouraged. But each small effort, each moment of awareness and choice is like water slowly shaping stone, unseen, gradual, but ultimately powerful. Resilience is also built through reflection. Looking back on past struggles and recognizing how far you've come reinforces your strength. The mountain you climbed before gives you the courage to face the next one. Each challenge becomes a testament to your capacity for growth and transformation. Finally, resilience thrives on self-compassion. Treat yourself as you would a loved one climbing their own mountain. Speak kindly, encourage gently, and allow room for mistakes. Growth is rarely linear. There will be stumbles and setbacks. Responding with patience rather than criticism fosters the inner strength that allows you to continue climbing, step by step. By focusing on small, deliberate actions and embracing each moment as part of the journey, resilience becomes not just a trait, but a way of being. It is the quiet determination to keep moving, the steady courage to face discomfort, and the enduring faith that you are capable of reaching new heights.
Habits are the invisible architecture of our lives. Brianna Wiest emphasizes that our daily actions, often small and unnoticed, are what ultimately shape our character, our choices, and the path we follow up the mountain of self-mastery. The life we long for is not created by grand gestures alone, but by consistent, intentional behaviors repeated over time. Many people focus on willpower as the key to change. Yet Wiest reminds us that willpower alone is fragile. It can falter in moments of stress, fatigue, or doubt. Habits, however, operate quietly in the background, guiding our behavior without requiring constant conscious effort. This is why establishing routines that support growth is far more powerful than relying solely on motivation. Self-sabotage often emerges from the misalignment between our habits and our goals. We may dream of better health, deeper relationships, or creative accomplishments, yet our daily routines do not support these desires. This mismatch creates friction, a subtle form of inner conflict that leaves us frustrated and stuck. Awareness of these patterns is the first step toward change. Wiest suggests starting with small, deliberate habits that align with the person you want to become. The goal is not to overhaul your life overnight, but to make incremental adjustments. Drinking more water, taking a brief walk each day, or practicing a few minutes of mindfulness may seem minor, but over time, these habits accumulate into significant transformation. Consistency is essential. Habits are built through repetition, not perfection. There will be days when we falter, when old patterns reassert themselves. Rather than judging ourselves harshly, Wiest encourages gentle recommitment. Each choice to return to a constructive routine reinforces the mountain climb, one step at a time. Another important aspect is aligning habits with your values. When your actions reflect what truly matters to you, honesty, compassion, health, creativity, you strengthen your sense of purpose.
Habits then become not just mechanical routines, but expressions of your deeper self. It is also valuable to understand the triggers that prompt unhealthy habits. Often we act automatically in response to stress, boredom, or emotional discomfort. By noticing these triggers, we gain the power to pause, reflect, and choose a different action, one that supports growth rather than retreat. Finally, Wiest reminds us that patience is critical. Habits do not change our lives instantly. Like the slow erosion of a mountain stream shaping stone, consistent, mindful actions gradually carve the path to a stronger, wiser, and more resilient self. Transformation is not a race. It is a steady ascent, guided by the small, intentional steps that become the foundation of lasting change. By cultivating habits that reflect awareness, compassion, and purpose, we slowly align our daily life with our highest potential. Each conscious choice becomes a foothold, helping us climb the mountain within, step by step, toward a life of meaning, freedom, and peace. A central teaching in The Mountain Is You is that true transformation begins when we take full responsibility for our lives. Brianna Wiest emphasizes that the mountain within cannot be climbed by blaming others or circumstances. Real change starts when we acknowledge that we are the primary architects of our experience. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that has gone wrong. Life is full of events beyond our control, and we are shaped by many external forces. Yet within every situation lies the power of choice. How we respond, the meaning we assign to events, and the actions we take moving forward are ours to own. Self-sabotage often thrives on avoidance. It is easier to say, "Life made me this way," than to face the discomfort of personal accountability. But avoiding responsibility keeps us trapped. When we shift from a mindset of victimhood to one of ownership, we reclaim power. The mountain no longer feels like an insurmountable barrier. It becomes a terrain we can navigate with intention and courage. Responsibility also requires honesty with oneself. We must acknowledge the ways we contribute to our struggles. Perhaps it's avoiding difficult conversations, neglecting self-care, or staying in unhealthy patterns. Facing these truths is not a judgment, but a compassionate recognition of where change is possible. Each acknowledgement becomes a stepping stone toward freedom. Wiest teaches that taking responsibility is intimately tied to self-respect. When we honor our own role in creating our reality, we stop giving away our power to external forces. We no longer wait for others to validate, rescue, or motivate us. Instead, we become the steady force guiding our lives with awareness and integrity. This principle also extends to relationships. By taking responsibility for our emotions and actions, we cultivate healthier interactions. We learn to respond instead of reacting, to communicate needs clearly, and to set boundaries without fear. This shift reduces unnecessary conflict and deepens connection because we are no longer projecting our unresolved struggles onto others. Embracing responsibility is not a one-time event. It is a continuous practice. Every decision, from the smallest daily choice to the most significant life move, is an opportunity to exercise ownership. Over time, this practice rewires the mind and body, building confidence, resilience, and clarity. Finally, Wiest emphasizes that responsibility is liberating, not burdensome. It frees us from the illusion that happiness, peace, or success depends on anything outside of ourselves. When we take ownership, we discover that the power to change, grow, and rise above our limitations has always been within us. By stepping fully into responsibility, we become active participants in our own transformation. The mountain within, once overwhelming and intimidating, now presents itself as a challenge we are equipped to meet, with awareness, courage, and steady determination.
A vital part of climbing the mountain within is learning to establish healthy boundaries. Brianna Wiest emphasizes that boundaries are not walls to shut the world out, but gentle lines that protect your energy, peace, and well-being. They are an act of self-respect and self-care, allowing you to live intentionally rather than reactively. Boundaries begin with awareness. You must first understand what drains you, what hurts you, and what feels safe or unsafe. Many people allow others' needs, expectations, or judgments to dictate their behavior, often unconsciously. Over time, this pattern leads to resentment, fatigue, and a sense of powerlessness. Recognizing where your energy is being misused is the first step toward reclaiming it. Wiest explains that setting boundaries is not selfish. In fact, it is essential for authentic connection. When you communicate your limits clearly and respectfully, relationships become healthier. Others learn how to engage with you in ways that honor both parties. Without boundaries, people unconsciously shape your life, and your growth becomes stunted. Boundaries are also a reflection of your inner values. They clarify what matters most to you and help you align your daily life with those values. For example, if your health is a priority, setting a boundary around work hours, diet, or rest reinforces your commitment to yourself. If emotional well-being is a focus, you might limit interactions that consistently drain your energy or trigger past wounds. Learning to enforce boundaries can be uncomfortable at first. You may encounter resistance, guilt, or fear that others will reject you. These feelings are natural because breaking old patterns challenges both you and the people around you. But discomfort is a sign of growth. Each time you uphold a boundary, you reinforce the understanding that your well-being matters, and you gain confidence in your ability to prioritize it. Wiest also encourages self-compassion in the boundary-setting process. Boundaries are not rigid rules imposed harshly, but flexible agreements that protect your core needs while allowing for connection. They evolve as you grow, reflecting your increasing awareness and self-respect. Boundaries, when practiced consistently, transform your inner mountain. What once felt chaotic and overwhelming begins to feel manageable. You gain clarity about who you are, what you need, and how to navigate life without losing yourself in others' expectations. In essence, boundaries are the quiet force that allows you to climb steadily and intentionally. They preserve your energy for the climb, protect your inner peace, and create space for the transformation Brianna Wiest describes throughout her work. By learning to honor your limits and communicate them with compassion, you strengthen your capacity to grow, heal, and reach new heights within yourself.
Pain is often seen as an obstacle, something to avoid or escape. Yet Brianna Wiest teaches that pain is one of the most powerful guides on the journey of self-transformation. The mountain we face within is shaped by our struggles, and the way we respond to them determines whether they become chains or stepping stones. Life is inevitably filled with discomfort, loss, disappointment, regret, and heartbreak. These experiences can feel overwhelming, especially if we carry old wounds alongside current challenges. Yet, Wiest reminds us that pain is not meaningless. It signals areas of our inner landscape that require attention, understanding, and care. Ignoring pain does not make it disappear. It only festers, influencing our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in subtle ways.
The first step in transforming pain is acknowledgement. Denying or suppressing feelings may offer temporary relief, but it delays healing. By naming our emotions, grief, fear, anger, or shame, we give them a place to exist safely. Acknowledgement is an act of courage because it allows us to confront discomfort without judgment. Once acknowledged, pain can be reframed as an opportunity for growth. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Wiest encourages asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Each painful experience carries a lesson about resilience, compassion, or self-awareness. By seeking the insight within suffering, we reclaim power over it, rather than remaining its victim. Another key aspect of this transformation is patience. Healing does not occur instantly. The mountain is climbed slowly, step by step. Sometimes the process feels repetitive. Old feelings resurface, mistakes are repeated, and progress seems stalled. Yet each time we revisit the same challenge with greater awareness, the layers of pain are gradually softened, and the path upward becomes clearer. Self-compassion plays a central role in this journey. When we encounter our own mistakes or weaknesses, it is tempting to respond with harsh self-criticism. Wiest reminds us that compassion strengthens resilience. By treating ourselves as we would a loved one, we allow healing to take root, and we encourage growth rather than self-punishment. Transforming pain into growth also requires action. Reflection alone is not enough. Applying insights, setting new boundaries, and making intentional choices channel learning into meaningful change. Each small step forward is a declaration that your suffering will not define you, it will refine you. Ultimately, the mountain within is not made to crush us. It is designed to shape us into the fullest version of ourselves. Pain, when approached with awareness and courage, becomes a teacher rather than a tyrant. It is a necessary companion on the climb, revealing the strength, wisdom, and resilience that already reside within.
Climbing the mountain within requires more than awareness, compassion, and resilience. It requires intention. Brianna Wiest emphasizes that growth is rarely accidental. Every step toward transformation is guided by conscious choice, a deliberate decision to align your actions with the life you want to create. Intention is the compass of the inner journey. Without it, we drift through life reacting to circumstances, emotions, and other people's expectations. With it, even small steps become purposeful, moving us steadily toward our goals and deepest values. Intentionality is not about perfection or rigid control. It's about clarity of direction and consistency in pursuit of it. Many people live passively, waiting for life to happen or hoping circumstances will change. Yet Wiest reminds us that transformation begins with acknowledging your power to act. Every decision, from what you say to how you spend your time to the thoughts you entertain, is an opportunity to exercise intention. Even tiny choices repeated over time shape the trajectory of your life. Setting intention requires reflection. Ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to create? What values matter most to me? How do I want to show up for myself and others? These questions connect your actions to purpose, ensuring that you climb the mountain for reasons that resonate deeply with your true self. Wiest also stresses the importance of pairing intention with action. It is not enough to merely wish or visualize. We must follow through. Intentional living calls for deliberate habits, consistent effort, and mindful decision-making. Every time you act in alignment with your intentions, you strengthen your sense of agency and build momentum on the climb. Another essential aspect of intention is flexibility. The path up the mountain is rarely straight. Life presents obstacles, unexpected turns, and lessons that require adjustment. Intentionality does not mean rigid control. It means staying connected to your purpose while adapting to circumstances. By balancing clarity with flexibility, you maintain direction without resistance. Intentionality also nurtures self-trust. When you consistently choose actions that reflect your values, you begin to rely on your own guidance rather than external validation. This inner reliability reinforces confidence, reduces anxiety, and strengthens resilience. Finally, Wiest emphasizes that intention is a daily practice. Each morning you can reaffirm your purpose. Each evening you can reflect on whether your actions aligned with it. Over time, this practice transforms not just your external life, but your internal landscape, your beliefs, habits, and emotional responses. Living with intention turns climbing the mountain from a struggle into a conscious journey. Every step becomes meaningful, every challenge an opportunity to practice alignment, and every moment a chance to shape your future with awareness, courage, and purpose.
One of the most vital lessons Brianna Wiest imparts in The Mountain Is You is the transformative power of self-compassion. Many people climb the mountain of personal growth with harsh criticism, believing that discipline and self-reproach will drive change. But true progress arises not from punishment, but from understanding, patience, and kindness toward oneself. Self-compassion begins with awareness of your own suffering without judgment. It means acknowledging mistakes, failures, or imperfections, and responding as you would to a dear friend. Instead of saying, "I shouldn't feel this way," you gently affirm, "It's okay to feel this. I am human, and I am learning." This shift in tone creates an inner environment where healing and growth can flourish. Many adults carry self-critical patterns learned early in life, messages that say they are not enough, that their emotions are wrong, or that they must constantly prove their worth. These messages shape our inner dialogue and influence how we face challenges. Self-compassion interrupts this cycle, replacing judgment with acceptance and harshness with care. Wiest emphasizes that self-compassion is not indulgence or avoidance. It is not an excuse to remain stagnant or avoid responsibility. Rather, it is a recognition that mistakes are part of learning, and that growth occurs when the heart is open, not closed. When we treat ourselves with empathy, we create the space to confront uncomfortable emotions, release past wounds, and take courageous steps forward. A critical part of self-compassion is forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves for choices that caused pain to us or others allows the heart to heal. Holding on to guilt or regret keeps us anchored in the past, unable to climb the inner mountain. By offering forgiveness, we reclaim our energy, release unnecessary suffering, and make room for possibility. Self-compassion also nurtures resilience. When life presents challenges, setbacks, or disappointments, a compassionate mindset allows us to face adversity with grace. Instead of spiraling into self-blame, we treat ourselves with care, sustaining motivation and hope. This inner support system becomes a powerful foundation for continued growth. Daily practices reinforce self-compassion. Simple habits such as journaling, mindful reflection, positive self-talk, or pausing to breathe during stress create a consistent inner dialogue of kindness. Over time, these practices reshape our mental and emotional patterns, making self-compassion a natural response rather than a conscious effort.
Ultimately, embracing self-compassion transforms the climb up the mountain within. It softens the harsh edges of fear, self-doubt, and old pain, allowing progress to occur with balance and steadiness. When we treat ourselves as worthy of care and understanding, every step of growth becomes not just possible, but sustainable. The mountain may be steep, but with self-compassion, the journey becomes not just an ascent, but an act of love for oneself and for the life we are learning to create.
Transformation is rarely instant. Brianna Wiest emphasizes that climbing the mountain within is a gradual process, requiring patience, persistence, and trust in the journey. Many people grow frustrated when progress seems slow, measuring success by immediate results rather than sustained effort. Patience is the skill that allows us to persist even when change is not yet visible. Patience begins with accepting the natural rhythm of life. Growth, healing, and learning occur over time, often in ways we cannot predict or control. Just as a tree does not grow overnight, your inner transformation requires seasons of preparation, reflection, and quiet work. By respecting this process, we reduce unnecessary frustration and self-criticism. Wiest reminds us that impatience often stems from fear, the fear that life will pass us by, that we will never reach our potential, or that past mistakes have permanently limited us. Patience counteracts this fear by grounding us in the present moment. It encourages us to focus on the steps we can take today rather than obsessing over outcomes that are not yet within our control. A key aspect of patience is self-trust. When we trust that each choice, habit, and moment of awareness contributes to our growth, we can release the need for instant results. This trust nurtures resilience because setbacks are no longer failures, but opportunities to practice perseverance and deepen understanding. Patience also interacts closely with self-compassion. When progress feels slow or we stumble, a patient mindset allows us to respond gently rather than harshly. Instead of berating ourselves for perceived failures, we recognize that transformation is a journey with peaks, valleys, and plateaus. Each stage has value, and each effort is meaningful. Wiest encourages breaking growth into manageable increments. Large goals can feel overwhelming, leading to procrastination or discouragement. By focusing on small, intentional actions, the daily choices that align with our values, we build momentum. Patience allows us to appreciate these incremental victories as part of a larger ascent, reinforcing motivation and clarity. Another aspect of patience is curiosity. Life's lessons often unfold gradually. Observing patterns, reflecting on experiences, and integrating insights takes time. By approaching growth with curiosity rather than judgment, we create an inner environment that supports learning and flexibility. Ultimately, patience is a form of trust. Trust in ourselves, trust in the process, and trust in the timing of life. When we embrace patience, the mountain becomes less daunting. Every small effort, repeated consistently, carries us upward, revealing that the climb is not a race, but a steady, meaningful ascent. By cultivating patience, we allow transformation to unfold naturally, honoring the rhythm of growth and the wisdom gained in every step along the way. At the heart of Brianna Wiest's "The Mountain is You" is the understanding that personal transformation is fueled by choice. Every moment offers an opportunity to decide whether to act from fear or courage, from self-doubt or self-respect, from old patterns or new possibilities. The mountain within can only be climbed when we recognize that we are not powerless. We are active participants in shaping our lives.
Choice is empowering because it shifts responsibility from external circumstances to internal agency. Many people feel trapped by life's events, believing that their happiness, success, or peace depends on others. Wiest reminds us that while we cannot control every situation, we can control how we respond. This is where true freedom lies, in the deliberate decisions we make each day. The power of choice is most evident in moments of challenge. When faced with disappointment, loss, or fear, we can either succumb to old habits or respond in alignment with our higher self. Choosing courage over comfort, clarity over confusion, or action over avoidance reinforces the path of growth. Each conscious choice becomes a foothold on the mountain, guiding us upward. Wiest also emphasizes that not all choices are dramatic. Often, transformation is built on small, consistent decisions, committing to self-care, speaking one's truth, setting boundaries, or pausing before reacting in anger. These minor choices accumulate, gradually reshaping our habits, beliefs, and emotional patterns. Over time, the sum of these choices becomes the life we envision. Another important aspect of choice is awareness. Many people move through life automatically, responding to old scripts and unconscious triggers. By cultivating mindfulness, we create the space to evaluate each situation and decide intentionally. This conscious awareness strengthens our inner power and prevents us from being swept away by fear, habit, or external pressures. Choice is also tied to self-trust. Each time we make decisions that honor our values and aspirations, we reinforce confidence in our own judgment. Mistakes may still occur, but they are seen as lessons rather than failures. This trust empowers us to take increasingly bold steps toward personal growth. Ultimately, Wiest teaches that the mountain within is not climbed by chance. It is climbed by those who recognize that each choice matters, that every action contributes to their trajectory, and that even in uncertainty, they have the power to steer themselves toward growth and freedom. By embracing the power of choice, we reclaim our agency, break patterns of self-sabotage, and align with our highest potential. Every decision becomes an opportunity to climb higher, transforming the mountain from an obstacle into a path of self-discovery, resilience, and empowerment.
As Brianna Wiest explains in The Mountain is You, the ultimate goal of transformation is integration, the process of bringing all parts of yourself into alignment. True growth is not about rejecting past mistakes, denying emotions, or discarding old habits. It's about understanding, embracing, and harmonizing the different aspects of who you are. Only through this integration can you stand fully empowered at the summit of your inner mountain. Integration begins with awareness. You must acknowledge both your strengths and your weaknesses, your light and your shadow. Every part of yourself carries wisdom. The fears that once held you back reveal your desires and values. The habits that once limited you highlight the areas where growth is possible. By observing these aspects without judgment, you create space for understanding and reconciliation. Wiest emphasizes that self-awareness alone is not enough. It must be paired with action. Integration requires intentional choices that honor your whole self. This may mean setting boundaries, practicing self-care, confronting fears, or rewriting limiting beliefs. Each deliberate step ensures that your internal and external worlds align more closely, creating harmony rather than conflict. A critical component of integration is acceptance. Accepting your past,
your emotions, and your experiences does not mean condoning harmful behaviors or giving up on change. Rather, it is the recognition that these experiences have shaped who you are today. Acceptance allows you to release resistance, freeing energy for growth and possibility. Another aspect of integration is balancing effort with compassion. Transformation is challenging, and the climb up the mountain is rarely linear. You may face setbacks, self-doubt, or recurring patterns. Wiest teaches that when you respond with gentleness and understanding rather than harsh criticism, you sustain progress and reinforce resilience. Compassion keeps you moving steadily, even when the path feels steep or unclear. Integration also involves aligning your actions with your values and intentions. The choices you make daily should reflect the principles you wish to embody: honesty, courage, love, and presence. When your inner beliefs and external behaviors harmonize, life feels coherent, purposeful, and empowered. Finally, Wiest highlights that integration is ongoing. Life constantly presents challenges, changes, and opportunities for growth. Each experience invites you to refine your understanding, adjust your actions, and deepen your connection with yourself. By continually integrating lessons, emotions, and insights, you evolve into a version of yourself that is resilient, wise, and fully alive. Integration is the culmination of climbing the inner mountain. It transforms struggle into wisdom, fear into courage, and self-doubt into confidence. When you reach this state, you are no longer fragmented or reactive. You are whole, grounded, and capable of navigating life with grace, clarity, and authenticity.
The journey up the inner mountain is not easy, but Brianna Wiest reminds us that every challenge, every fear, and every moment of self-doubt has purpose. The climb is both the process and the teacher, shaping a stronger, wiser, and more resilient self. The summit is not a final destination, but the place where you fully embody the lessons of growth, awareness, and self-mastery. Reaching this point begins with understanding that transformation is lifelong. The mountain within does not disappear once you faced it. It evolves as you evolve. Life continues to present challenges, triggers, and opportunities for growth. Yet with the insights, skills, and awareness cultivated along the climb, you meet these moments with confidence and clarity rather than fear and reactivity. At the summit, self-awareness and self-compassion coexist. You understand your past without judgment, honor your struggles without shame, and acknowledge your strengths without arrogance. The old patterns of self-sabotage, avoidance, and fear no longer dominate your life. You act intentionally, choosing thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that align with your values and highest potential. Integration becomes your way of being. Every decision, small or large, reflects alignment with the person you have chosen to become. Boundaries are maintained with respect, habits support growth, and daily choices are guided by intention. Pain is no longer something to escape. It is seen as a signal, a guidepost for deeper understanding and further growth. Resilience, patience, and self-trust define your approach to challenges. You understand that setbacks are not failures, but part of the journey. Fear becomes a teacher rather than a jailer, and discomfort is an invitation to practice courage. The mountain, once intimidating, now feels like a path that you are capable of navigating, step by step. Freedom emerges as a natural result of this transformation. You are no longer tethered to old stories, limiting beliefs, or external validation.
Happiness, peace, and fulfillment are not dependent on circumstances, but are cultivated from within. Your life is a reflection of your conscious choices, grounded in awareness, compassion, and alignment. Ultimately, the summit is not a solitary place. It allows for deeper connection with others as you engage from a space of authenticity, empathy, and strength. Your transformation radiates outward, influencing relationships, work, and community, creating ripples of positive change beyond yourself. Brianna Wiest's message is clear. The mountain is not there to defeat you. It is there to help you discover the fullness of who you are. By facing the inner challenges, embracing discomfort, and committing to growth, you climb higher than you ever imagined. The peak is not a finish line, but a living expression of a transformed life, one of courage, clarity, and profound self-mastery.